1960s saw the rise of popular culture and the invention of the teenager. With the war over, there was an increase in spending, and for the first time young people had a voice and a lifestyle of their own in a time where they were otherwise overlooked. They now had a disposable income which they chose to spend on music and, most importantly, fashion. Thus began the rebellion of the 60s. A number of life-changing events shaped the 60s. In 1962, Andy Warhol opened the factory. In 1963, Martin Luther King made his infamous I Have a Dream speech. In 1964, teenage girls across the country were beside themselves with Beatlemania. And in 1969, 600 people gathered in Acres Farm for the Woodstock Festival. The 60s were synonymous with youthful silhouettes and bold colours. Hemlines were heightened, and for once, designs were all about youth.
Born in 1922 in Italy and raised in France, at the age of 17, Cardin started working for a tailor in Vichy. He began making women's suits and was the first post-war designer to challenge London's Savile Row in production of men's suits. In 1945, while working in France, he joined Pekin's Couture House and Schiaparelli's. A year later, in 1946, he joined Dior Couture House. 1947 saw him start creating costumes and masks for several films, including Beauty and the Beast. 1957 was the launch of his first women's collection, and 1963 was his first ready-to-wear collection. He also created the first unisex line, thanks to his cosmonaut trend. With the rise of music in the 60s, he started designing suits for the Beatles, which became very popular with young men at the time. In 1970, he created l'Espace Cardin, which is a presidential palace which holds rooms to accommodate all occasions, including showcasing some of his lines to date. Cardin was the first designer to launch a ready-to-wear line. Famous for his use of synthetic fabrics, his designs were similar to modern sculptures, including asymmetries and big necklines. Dresses featured openings in contrasting colours. His collections were decorated with big zippers and belts. Women sported short hair, helmets and visors teamed with catsuits, which gave the look a futuristic feel. 1967 saw his Star Trek-inspired collection, with constructive and futuristic looks, geometric scenes, and hemlines reminded of robots. He was one of several designers to go into the space age route, which was inspired by the space travel in 1961. Cardin has created an empire over the years, putting his name to over 800 contrasting products, from jams to ties to casseroles. So multi-talented, he even opened a chain of restaurants and started publishing children's tales. He's been looking to sell the business since 2004, but no offer has impressed him just yet. He's been quoted as saying that he's looking for someone to maintain the brand's integrity and saying, "I have a name that is magic. I don't need to sell it. I know my worth." Currently, while still designing, he's also focusing on reinventing his hometown of Lacoste and turning it into a Saint-Tropez of culture. To this day, designers are still using the 60s, and Pierre Cardin especially, as an inspiration for their collections. Bruno Pieters paid homage to Cardin in his Spring-Summer '09 ready-to-wear collection. Nigel Mackenzie in Spring-Summer '09 ready-to-wear, and Dior in Autumn-Winter '08 ready-to-wear was in keeping with style of the 60s.
Anthony Price was born in Bradford, England, 1945. Between 1965 and 68, he studied at Bradford School of Art and also the Royal College of Art. Anthony would design clothes to fit and flatter. Skin-tight snake tailoring, eventually worn by Mick Jagger and Dave Clark, associated with Roxy Music and Brian Ferry, which led to him to design stage and set costumes. He produced successful commercial ranges for Che Guevara and Plaza. Anthony Price laid claim on inventing the ubiquitous cap-sleeve t-shirt. The designer client list included both pop and fashion stars such as Duran Duran, Annie Lennox, Joan Collins and Jerry Hall. From 1996 to 1998, he would never miss a single London Week annual event. He now designs a range for Top Man.
André Courrèges was born in 1923 in France. In 1949, he joined Balenciaga until 1961, when he opened his own fashion house. In the early 1960s, he introduced very short skirts, mini dress with trousers, and trouser suits. Both Courrèges and Mary Quant claim to have invented the miniskirt. However, Mary Quant did make it mainstream. He became known as the space-age designer. He sparked a revolution in the 1960s in fashion with his bold and distinct mod sci-fi futurism look. He used curves, cuts with welt seams, and see-through cutout dresses. His all-white collections were used with bright colours like orange, navy, pink and blue. The Courage boot, which he was famous for, was made of white kid, calf or patent leather, and it was mid-calf. He was also famous for his use of goggles as accessories to his pieces. His catwalks were lively presentations organised by his wife. As well as having his name associated with the fashion line La Redoute, he also began designing sportswear and adopting Japanese influences into his work.
Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night.